Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome or welcome back, as the case might be. My name is Dalibor Petrovic, your host to these Tectonic Conversations. Today, I have a special guest on a special topic. I'm thrilled to welcome my colleague and friend Sutej Batth, who is the founder and CEO of Autograf, a new business concept, and a new business builder. So, thank you very much, Sutej, for finding time to join me this fine morning afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Dalibor. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. What we are going to do today is we are going to explore how young professionals, current and future founders, are thinking about establishing businesses in a different way from traditional way the business have been established. And I met Sutej and learned more about him and what he is doing. And I believe Sutej's story fits perfectly the moment that we all find ourselves in. And that Sutej's story actually is the 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 direction that I believe many people are going to be pursuing in the forthcoming years. As I simply believe what Sutej is doing is a better way. So now that we raised tension here and interest, Sutej, I first would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about who you are and your story. Then we'll talk about Autograf. Then we'll delve in deeper. So over to you, Sutej.
Absolutely. So I'm Sutej Batth. I'm a builder, I'm a designer, and I'm the founder of Autograf Digital, which is a tech studio based here in Alberta. What we do is we build lightweight systems, beautiful apps, and intelligent automations that help small businesses in particular, which I believe are the underdogs that will play a far larger and more important role in our economy going forward.
Yeah.
Our our mission at Autograph is simple. It's really to build a real modular human first sort of tech for these businesses that we mentioned. And we'll talk more in detail about that. But to give you a little bit of my background, I my journey started in the corporate world where I
Okay.
spent almost 7 years at Deloitte working
Mhm.
with large enterprises on digital transformation projects, mostly in enterprise software. This is legacy software, ERP systems, the full thing. That whole world taught me a lot about how big companies operate, how systems scale, how many complexities in the overall setup, and where they break. And also it gave me an understanding of why these solutions probably won't work for small businesses, the ones that are in question for this call. I think yeah, we can talk more in detail about that. But so I started my transition over into entrepreneurship around when ChatGPT was first getting popular. So this is end of
Okay.
2022.
All right.
Um, I I was into travel at that time, and I was traveling a lot. I thought I wanted to be an Instagram star making travel content, uh, and and I was looking for a way to put together scripts for my and to help me with the overall creation process of this travel content. And
Yeah.
what I had to come up with was a way or essentially I used ChatGPT to put together a Chrome extension, a Google Chrome extension that helped me with that, and it actually made my life a lot easier while I was working on that. So what that moment it left a very vivid sort of mark that I look back at now, that it flipped a switch for me. I
Yeah.
realized that we were on the cusp of something entirely new. Like I had never coded in my life. I didn't, and even here without a single line of code, I was able to put together a tool that if I wanted to, I could have sold it in the Chrome web store and used that to help other people and generate revenue for myself, even though that's not the route I ended up going down. It it opened up a whole new world for
Yeah,
me.
it opened up a
And
new, yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah,
It flipped the switch. Awesome. But
that's
please
that's
carry
crazy.
on.
And yeah, so that was the start of
Mm.
um, when I ended up finally making the switch, I was still unsure. But it's been a quite the journey. I've been having a lot of fun the last year and a half or so.
So Autograph Digital is the company that you founded. So tell us a little bit more about Autograph Digital. Um, how long, like you just gave us the sort of the
Yes.
genesis of the idea. Tell us a little bit more about Autograph Digital and how that has been developing.
Yeah, so actually initially I we started this as a traditional digital marketing company where I was building as a solopreneur, I was building websites and helping my clients with their typical digital marketing needs.
Hmm.
But over the last year and a half or so, we've made a few pivots, and I'm pretty happy to be at a point now where what we're doing is we're focusing on building these custom apps, lightweight systems, and intelligent automations for small businesses in particular. And we can talk more in detail about this, but this, I believe, is going to be a much these small businesses are going to play a much bigger role in our economy going forward, especially with as automations and as AI get more more popular, more common. I think there's going to be a real need from customers and just from regular people to look for sort of the anti-AI model. And I think there's a lot the human touch and the human experience that they get from a coffee shop where they meet their friends and where they meet their friends for coffee, where they can sit and work, or their barber shops where they see their barber every 2 weeks, are going to be businesses that are going to. I think we're going to see more of these businesses, and also these are, I think, businesses that can't really be they can't really be bought by private equity
Yeah,
and run at scale. A barbershop, for example, I think is a perfect example of that. That you can have Supercuts or Tommy Gunn's barbershop or some of the names I can remember, but they don't really go. They're not really the market leaders. They're
yeah,
if anything, they're the sort of the exceptions there. So I found that for this subset of the market, there weren't really any tools, or this wasn't the focus for big tech. There are tools, obviously, that they can use, but these are often over-engineered, bloated systems that have far more functionality than that these businesses might need. And on top of that, they might actually need to change their way of doing business or their way of operating to fit how a certain software does that
yes,
particular task.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and now with a lowering of the barrier of entry, I think it is we're going to see a wave of custom software, of custom solutions that are built specifically for some use cases, and in this case, specifically for for these businesses that are in question. And
Yeah,
Autograph is sort of leading the way and riding this wave of building these solutions
yeah.
for our clients.
I think that you're absolutely right. You're on to something really, I think, powerful. Majority of employment actually in Canada is medium, small and medium business, not large business. And you rightly pointed out, all the big software company, all the big software tech is pointed towards large business. So what does a small business do? Especially now in this day and age where there is an expectation that all businesses are technically enabled, that all businesses have automated ways to, book your meetings or your sessions and follow up and chat agents and so on and so forth. So how does a barber get to that point of full technology automation? That's a challenge. So that's the challenge you're addressing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think just in general, if we think about the software that that kind of barbershop might have, this would be typically, so if this is a barbershop that only has one location, for example, let's say they have 6 to 8 barbers, they will have to rely on one software maybe for their booking needs. They will have to look at a different sale system. They'll need to rely on something else to do scheduling for between the 5 or 6 of them of who works when or what shift they'll be working, for example.
Yeah.
And they might be able to use something like, let's say, Square point of sale system, which definitely offers some of these features, but it doesn't. The way we're able to build it for them is that we're building a full end-to-end custom stack for them that takes care of only the things that they need, and we don't even build anything else that they don't. So we keep the system super snappy, very flexible, and they're on the best part of this is that these are fully modular systems, so that we keep expanding on these on the functionality as this business grows and as they scale up. So as an example, for one of our barbershop clients, we initially started off with booking just a booking system for them, which was integrated into their website, just a custom front end.
Yeah.
Eventually, we added a loyalty component to it. So now each customer, whenever they make a booking, we would give them a certain number of points. Uh, as we continued working with these customers, they wanted to focus on generating more reviews on Google for their business, for example. So we added another add-on on top of that after that, whenever in our custom design point of sale system that we built for them, once they check out a certain customer, that the customer would get a text message saying, we hope you enjoyed your experience with us, or thank you for your trust. Please let us know how we did today. And depending on whether the customer replies with a 1, 2, 3, for example, we if it's between 1 and 3, we redirect them to an internal sort of review collection form where we
Mhm.
still get their feedback, but we
Yeah.
collect that internally. And then if they give us a 4 or 5 stars, we redirect them to to the Google
Very
review
well.
page instead.
Of course.
So the customer still gets to air out their frustration, and we still get to capture where we went wrong, but it doesn't have to be public right away. So that's just an example of how we were able to build something for them based on exact needs that they had. And now the way I'm envisioning continuing to scale Autograph Digital up is that we build these individual components in a modular sort of setup, and we have that functionality ready to go within our collective pool of knowledge and resources. And then whenever we're working with a client, based on what they need, we simply take this component, plug it into their system, and it's fully customized with their branding, and it's all their data is segregated, and only they are able to see it. It's not connected to anything else, but it
Yeah.
gives us the speed and the flexibility to be quick.
In other words, you're building a modular marketplace that is intended to serve the underserved, the small
Yes,
business owners. And
absolutely.
once you build, as you are building this marketplace of modules that do different things, these modules can be connected in any different way that the client wants, with their branding, with their look, their feel, with AI chatbots that are trained on their client's industry, and simply now you can rinse and repeat. And by building it once for the first barber client, you develop the template and modules. You can now go and serve the other barber clients across the town, city, province, country, world, right? That's the idea.
Exactly. And it actually works across industries too. So the loyalty program, the loyalty component that I mentioned, for example, we initially built that for a barbershop client, but then we have that implemented now at some coffee shops, at quick service restaurants. I'm working with a post-secondary education institute right now to gamify the attendance for their home team games, and
Yeah.
we're using the same modular setup for them, and that would be the starting point for them. But then maybe we'll expand to include other functionality there. So yeah, these are exactly what you said, but we can actually use them across different
Across
industries,
different
different
industries.
verticals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Different industries. Well, this is fantastic. I mean, it's so crystal clear to me how you've identified the market space that's underserved, and the intelligent way you're approaching your business, that you're building something that is repeatable. Uh, I wanted to touch on, what has actually made this possible. This concept of decentralization that you and I spoke about a little bit earlier before we went live. Can you give us your sort of your interpretation of what's happening out there? Why is this even possible now?
Absolutely. So I think you and I discussed this idea slightly before, but I want to talk about this interview that I heard from with Jeff Bezos a while ago when he was discussing the initial genesis of the idea of AWS, or of how they came up uh, with, first of all, how they understood that there would be a need for something like that, uh, and how they went about building it. So he was mentioning that in early 2000s they were in the UK visiting a brewery somewhere. It's some a brewery that had been in operations since the 1500s.
Okay.
In the back of this brewery, he mentioned that they had a small museum where they were showing all their history and the changes that they've endured and survived since the 16th century. So one of the things that he said really caught his attention was that back in about 100, 150 years ago or so, that they had to build their own capacity to generate electricity. So they had their own turbines or generation of some kind.
Hmm.
And he related that to the concept that initially, when electricity was a new concept, that it required a lot of resources and a lot of investment to get that capability integrated into your business. So in the modern context, that is similar to how compute was essentially the modern equivalent of that. That if a big corporation needed to have certain information technology setup, that they would have had to spend a lot of money on the local hardware, on an on-prem solution, and then the software that would go on top of it, and build a full team that would understand how to run and maintain this infrastructure.
Yep.
So what Jeff Bezos mentioned was that his idea was that in the modern world, compute would also see the same fate as electricity, where we went from local generation to a common electric grid that all it took was if we were starting a new business in the late 1990s, for example, we didn't have to worry about building our own electric generation. We could have just gotten a connection from the electric company, and we'd be ready to go. Similar to that, we saw the same fate with AWS, with Google Cloud, with Azure. And I think the next phase of this in for first of all, for the electric side, was that yeah, now we definitely have the electric grid, but as technology gets cheaper and access gets the barrier of entry gets lower and lower, that we now actually have the capacity to build off, or to go off the grid a lot easier than it would have been back in the day. We have now solar panels, we have small remote wind turbines, and multiple other ways to actually continue operating. If you live in a cabin in the woods, or if you're trying to run some remote operation in the Arctic somewhere, that you'd be able to do all of that on completely off the grid now. I think similar to that, compute will face a similar transition, where we don't really need to rely on AWS anymore. That we are now at the cusp of this change, where uh, a lot of these open source platforms allow us to build local and very cheap hardware. To be honest, lets us build local systems, local hardware, and run everything completely off the grid. I think that's the general direction of this, and I think especially as we continue moving forward, I think the democratization of company building, of every of how easy it is for someone like me, going back to the example that we were discussing before, like on it's fairly easy for you to set up a business now, and to
Yep.
to set up a company, that maybe you don't need to rely on a centralized software like Square, for example.
So I wanted to just, before we go into the company building, because I actually know that there is a very, very interesting perspective you bring to that. Let's talk a little bit more about the grid and
Yeah.
this direction you're suggesting that we now are capable to be off the grid and create the required amount of compute, right? Without, what would you say, what is driving that? Is there a, like, what would be the negative aspects of being on the grid? What, like, why would somebody be compelled to create something off the grid in your mind?
So I think first of all, the concept of decentralization, right? That we being masters of our own fate, not having to rely on some central power of some monolith that decides what features should be implemented in a certain software, or or having full reliance on a third party that. Which was certainly important earlier on in maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that brought with it a lot of advantages. But where we are today, I think it's a lot more value in having full control over, similar to what we discussed earlier, that we're able to, rather than relying on a bloated, over-engineered system. That would be the first sort of thing that we are. First of all, being able to, first of all, we're now in a position to be able to build exactly what we need as a business. And then on top of that, having control and visibility into what's going on in your system, and not having to rely on
So yeah,
any
flexibility.
third
So
party.
flexibility and control, which now is possible and affordable, I guess. Flexibility
Absolutely.
and control that is now possible and affordable. And that
And
flexibility and the quality of the systems uh, have reached the point where you can do this in a safe manner, abiding to appropriate laws and regulations, preserving privacy, connecting to payment systems, that the ecosystem has come to the point where this is really now possible and feasible. As a matter of fact, you are an example of someone who is actually doing it for their clients. Is that fair?
absolutely. And I'll give you an example of this. So
Please.
we're uh, one of the agencies that we're partnering with, it's called Lawyer Vantage, and up until now they've focused on marketing for and getting new clients for law firms. What we're building with them right now is a way to help their clients set up local infrastructure where we can run local large language models, and
Hmm.
give them a new way to interface with all of their data without having any reliability on the internet, for example. So what
Dependability. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
and any
Dependability. Yeah.
dependability,
Yeah.
and all the benefits that come from a privacy and data security standpoint. So, for example, if you can envision this, essentially it would be a local computer, either a custom built, or we can actually use something like a Mac Mini to with so it'll be about a $6,000 to $8,000 hardware cost, with like the full beefed up hardware that comes with the Mac Mini. We would set that up locally and set up a open source large language model on it, and not just one. We would possibly run three or four different ones, and this system would not be connected to the internet at all, but it would be connected to their CRM system. It
This
would be
is
connected to,
fantastic.
yeah, and it would be connected to where their all their case files are located, which could be in a all local on that device, or in a central backup somewhere. And we would give them we would give this law firm an interface, just a front end web page where they could chat with all of their data. They could look up previous cases. They could use this LLM to build, to look up precedents, for example, of
Yeah.
what they've worked on before. And all of this would be possible because of this decentralized idea of building.
This is
We're not.
incredible. This
Uh,
is incredible. And now you're making that available. As I said, this is the important part. Banks have that. Making this technology available to those who
yeah,
would otherwise absolutely not be able to afford anything like this if they were working in a more traditional scenario, or if this was even just 2 years ago.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
and we're doing that at a fraction of the cost.
yeah, at a fraction of a cost. So this then leads us to this interesting concept this that I really want to explore with you about the type of business and the type of builder that you are. We were discussing this emerging trend of builders that are showing up different. When I say builders, I mean business builders, right? Tell us more about that premise and what you think, what your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I think a good way to frame this is that entrepreneurship has always been entrepreneurship and business has always been synonymous with hustle, with this culture of chaos and burnout. This idea that grind now and live later. But first of all, for me, that would never really sit well. I wasn't. That's not really what I how I pictured my life. So I'm happen to be lucky that we're living through this time that we are right now, and this happened to be the time when I was making my transition to entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
But I realized that I was not alone, that there is this new wave of builders, a new wave of entrepreneurs that are doing things completely differently now. And I think a good word to describe that would be a calm builder. That rather than someone who is just chasing growth and looking and chasing metrics, or just looking to get a certain number of new users by every week, and just growth for the growth's sake, for example. Instead of that, a calm builder is someone who's now operating with clarity, just kind of taking it easy. We're building systems that support our life and not really consume it. So it's about a much more cohesive way of life, between uh, a way where your everything sort of transcends your different facets of life. It's not your personal life and your work life and your social life. It's all kind of all sort of one. And I'm really happy to be in part of this community where we are all together and we're focused on the community, we're sharing with each other. And a big component of this is actually building in public and sharing your lessons on social media, on forums, on um, these collectives that we are now forming. And it's actually a really it's cool because there's a huge focus on collaboration over competition. And what I think one of the things that we were discussing about is this idea that we are shifting away from what was the only goal for entrepreneurs, for builders, which was chasing the unicorn status, a billion-dollar company. That the antithesis of that now, or what we're chasing now, is this idea of an elephant company.
elephant company.
And
So
yeah,
just to be clear, so you are representing you represent what you are saying is a new movement of you
yeah,
call them calm entrepreneurs
yeah,
who are not chasing unicorn status, sell and get out, but instead are building what you now call elephants.
yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me what is an elephant in your mind.
So an elephant, if you think about an elephant, first of all, they're thick-skinned, so we're able to endure
Yeah.
tough markets. We are These are companies that are designed from the ground up to have very low overhead. We're not looking at getting a fancy looking office or getting a campus to have all of our employees working out of the same place. Where it's mostly remote companies. We Like an elephant, we move in herds. There's a lot more focus and reliance on community. um, I think we are a lot more empathetic, that we're listening to our community, and we're responding to them, and we're evolving with our community. We start off with if we start off with a 1.0 version of our product today, the 1.2 or the 1.5 version might look completely different based on community feedback, and everything that we learn along the way. And I think, but the most important thing is longevity, that we're not really building these companies to exit, to sell, but rather these are sustainable companies, sort of an extension of who we.
Yes. as
wave
who
of
you are as a
builders.
person. Yes.
Yeah, and we're moving forward to with the goal that we're going to run this until until the wheels fall off. That there's no retirement, there's no
Yeah,
exit.
yeah, yeah. So now, now, I love the idea. I think that you are right on. Why this is possible, why it is possible for you to be a calm entrepreneur, if I might suggest, is because the business you described is so easy to start, and you don't need debt. You don't need to have a massive capital outlay. You don't need to go and raise $1 million or $5 million. You can actually, in today's day and age, you can stand up a business in a matter of weeks,
Absolutely, if days even.
days,
Yeah,
and you can organize your business with technology that enables it to be almost a solopreneurship to start. So your actual risk is very low. You're
hmm
not you're not remortgaging your home, and now you're gonna either win or you're gonna be on the streets. You don't have a private equity bleeding down your neck. To me, that
exactly.
is very, very
And
powerful.
actually, everyone. Sorry, and actually, everyone I know or for everyone that I know in this community is fully bootstrapped. We're all self-funded. There is no investors really. There's no VCs that we're looking to impress. It's a very different world.
So it is a very different world. Um, and I love what you're saying, that you're growing your elephant with the intent for it to be there for long term, that your elephant is going to be representing you and your face and your brand and your image. It'll be the production side of who Sutej is,
hmm
and it's a long-term arrangement that
hmm
you will that exists to provide you with both sustenance and prosperity over the long term.
Yeah.
So so um, does the model also imply that you need to be thinking and moving the work that you're doing from an active income to a passive income? And how are you, if so, how are you achieving or thinking about that?
I think so. I think for me personally, I can talk about my business models slightly. That I'm focused more on building these softwares and these solutions that we mentioned before. So a lot of this is rinse and repeat type of work for me. And so there's certainly a level it's going to be something that I'm definitely involved in going forward. But there's a, I think passive income is sort of a byproduct of being
Hmm.
of building this business in this new way of being focused on community and building it in public, where because now you're sharing your journey as from day one on social
Yes.
media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, that you end up having a lot more people that join you on this path. And then along the way, you discover other business opportunities and new ways of revenue open up. This might be consulting, it might be speaking gigs. It could be multiple different ways. So I think passive income at like similar to maybe if we consider buying a house and putting and having tenants living in that house, if we consider that to be a passive income, so this would be a different model to that. um, but it would be, I think I would say that slightly less active income rather than
Yeah,
completely
yeah,
like
yeah.
fully
Not
passive.
fully passive, but so an example would be a bit the example of generating passive income would be you building a website for someone, or technology solution for them
Yeah,
that is custom
great.
to them, that is built out of the modules you already built, but then
Yeah,
you instead of charging them X amount of money to get it done, you put them on a subscription base, and it just
exactly.
carries on, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So your income, in order to increase your revenue, let's say by 5x, your work will only really go up by, let's say, 1.5x.
That's exactly it. That's it. That's right. So. a part of the equation, therefore, for this to actually work in a way I think that elephants would like, because I'm in a similar situation. I'm actually,
Mhm.
as you describe the elephant move, that's the move that I am. That's the path I'm on,
Yeah.
with similar connectedness into the community, followers, and people who actually engage with me, pivoting very quickly as the market shifts. Those are all the things that are done. Plus, of course, the thought of how do we actually convert our businesses into the sources of primarily passive income, which is what we need for obviously for the long term growth and prosperity.
Mhm.
We got a question from the audience about preeminent elephant calmpreneurs. Do you know, like you mentioned that you are a part of the community that is emerging?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that community or those communities, and how might people find them if they're interested?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can give you two types of examples. One would be that's maybe closer to what a unicorn company could have looked like before. An example of that is actually this company out of New York called the Browser Company of New York. That's their full name, and they develop this browser called Arc, and then they have this new product called Dia that is just coming out now, and they embody these principles because they've been essentially sharing everything from day one. So they actually have a much bigger team than what a solopreneur would be. That'll be my example number two. But this one is more closely related to how we would have typically looked at a tech startup.
Yeah.
But they've been very open about their development, about their security breaches, about the issues that they've had along the way, and they've built a community around something as boring as developing a web browser. And because they did that, they're now, when they launch their next product, it's a lot easier. Another example of this is this tool called Cluely. I'm sure some of the viewers might be familiar with them, but they are taking this whole thing as more of a social media influencer rather than a tech startup. So they're hiring people. I think they just recently hired 50 people, and their job is not to actually work on the product, but it's to make content on TikTok and on Instagram. And these are highly paid professional interns and professionals who are uh, following the same marketing strategy as someone who got really popular on TikTok or on Kick streaming recently. So that's sort of the example of closer to what we were doing before. But to give you an example of this new calm entrepreneur and community-based programs, there's an unlimited number of examples. There's this tool called Go High Level. So it's this all-in-one tool for digital marketing agencies to use as a CRM to run to generate invoices for their clients. But then it also allows the customers to build or these clients to white label the solution and resell it to their customers. What I've found when I was looking at all of these tools was that there is probably 50 to 100 different companies that have been built on top of this ecosystem of this go high level community. And these are communities like, so one of them is this community called Zappy Chat, for example. So
Okay.
this is something that the viewers can look up. But what Zappy Chat was that they built a prepackaged sort of AI chatbot solution that any customer who was using Go High Level to run their company could press a couple buttons and implement this AI chatbot on top to which then they could implement on their website as a chatbot, or when a customer calls the restaurant to book a meeting, or sorry, to book a table or a barber shop, that this agent could then start replying to them. So that's the actual product that they're selling. But if you look at their community, it's about 1,000, 1,500 people who are loyal customers and like daily participants. They are consistently engaging with all of their posts on Discord, on their Facebook groups. There is there's a lot more of this collaboration sort of mindset where, and this is a very highly active community. Like if you look at something like SAP or Oracle, for example, in the past days, like
Yeah.
the scale is so large that there are so many different components, so many different layers, tiers that are involved, that there isn't really a one central community that can be formed around SAP, for example. There could be different
Yeah.
modules, there could be different roles, but these are like bite-sized businesses that are doing one very specific tool or one very specific task, and there are full communities and memberships and conferences every year that happen, that where people that are basically all revolved around something very simple.
Yeah. So if that, and that is a great example of the herd that you mentioned. So all these
Yes.
people are essentially solopreneurs or or
Yeah.
calmpreneurs, as you call them. And of course,
Yeah.
this doesn't imply that at some point you're not going to have employees or that you don't yet have employees. I know
Yeah.
that you do. But this is just a very, very interesting and different cultural phenomena. I think it's
Yeah.
so social and cultural phenomena, right?
I think
So
so.
where do you think this is going? It's like we probably many of us have heard that very soon we're going to end up with a, one person corporation that's going to be $1 billion in value. Like is that the path to get to there, or like where do you how do you think how do you feel this will play out?
If your goal is to get to $1 billion, I think you can definitely get there with this model. But I think for me personally, it isn't, and for a lot of the people that
Uh-huh.
are on this journey, it's not. The goal here is to have. I think we slightly touched on this before. Is about having this synergy between work and life and your social life and your mission, that you are looking at this as sort of a top-down approach, where we first look at the kind of life you want to live. What does that involve, and how many hours a day do you want to work? What type of do you want to travel? Do you want to have an office? Do you want to meet new people? Whatever that is, and then from there we sort of decide um, on what type of business you should go into. And I think that's totally possible today. It was never before.
You're
Where we
flipping the
would.
script. You're flipping
I
the
think
script
so.
upside down. So in other words, what you're doing is you're saying, let's start with those first principles about happy in life. What is it that what is a happy life for me? I love
Hmm.
how you're thinking about this. I know that you're also a father of a young child.
Yeah.
So you have your father, you want to have time to pursue your interests, you have relationships, and then you're actually building a business that fits into that.
Yeah.
Instead of you taking your life and fitting into your work, you're fitting your work into your life, and that is a big philosophical difference.
Absolutely, and I think that's only going to get more and more common. To slightly off topic, but I think capitalism as we know it is dead. I think there is going to be a huge transition. Maybe it might be a rough 5 years, might be 10 years, but capitalism is as we knew it is already over. Anyone that's still clinging on to it is they're going to find out sooner or later. So it's about getting in front of these trends and understanding that your our productivity isn't shouldn't really be tied to our well-being like it was at one point. Uh,
Yeah,
that that you that we are the ones who get to decide what this new future looks like, and what this new future of work looks like. And I am experimenting this with myself, with my life, and I again like talking about that the elephant type of company that building a community around it, sharing my lessons and everything else that I learned along the way, sharing with people. So I think I'm hoping to be a successful case study for other people to
absolutely.
follow.
So, Sutej, this was wonderful. I think that you are absolutely onto something really important. That you are like the canary in the coal mine of this trend. Um, this is, I believe, fundamentally the future of both entrepreneurship, and quite frankly, how many people are going to be looking at what it means to work and what it means to live.
Mhm.
I absolutely look forward to staying inside your community and watching you succeed. Thank you very much for your time. I want to ask you if you have any sort of closing questions or call for actions for people who might be listening to this.
I will just say that if you're thinking about if you've ever wanted to do something on your own, and if you're thinking about starting something on your own, I think this there has not ever been a better time to dive in and to go all in. You just have to think of yourself as more of a media personality rather than a developer or a designer. You have to understand that what will differentiate you from everyone else will be distribution, and it will be your connection, your human connection with other people. I'm there. 95% of what I do for my clients, they can probably do on their own. If not now, in the next 6 months, they'll be able to create a new logo or build a full end-to-end booking setup with the front end and the back end taken care of, along with all the reminders and the notifications that and the automations that need to exist in between. They'll be able to do all of that. But what will separate, I think, this calm builder that we're discussing is distribution, is the community that you're able to build, is the brand that you're able to build for yourself. So if you're thinking about it, now's the best time to do it. And I think you will never regret taking this step. And if you have any questions, please send me a message. I'd love to get on a call to discuss more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Sutej. And for the audience members, this was now recorded and we'll post it on TechTonic Conversations YouTube channel later today. Thank you very much for breaking the new ground. Wish you absolutely the very best and look forward to staying to see it happen. Bye bye.
Thank you, Delaware. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care.